النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. انظر كيف فضلنا بعضهم على بعض وللآخرة أكبر درجات وأكبر تفضيلا. لا تجعل مع الله إلها آخر فتقعد مذموما مخذولا. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا. إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما. واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you for that beautiful recitation. Let us have a loud salawat for Brother Moise. Next, we have Sister Mishkat for a poem. Let us welcome her with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Zain al-Abideen, the patient soul of Karbala, the son of Hussein, the servant of grief, who taught us in pain there is still belief. Years passed since Karbala's crimson land, yet the blood still dripped from his trembling hand. A heart full of wounds the world couldn't disguise. Tents burned, children cried, women stared, yet he walked and walked the world with lowered eyes. Chains upon chains, chains once held his sacred fame, but never could silence his father's name. In each prostration, a world of pain, in every whisper, divine refrain. No sword he raised, no army led, yet thousands rose through the words he said. Feeding the poor with trembling knees, masked by the night, he gave with grace, never seeking a single face. And then he fell, the son of Karbala fell silent and still, returning at last to God's will, poisoned, they say, by fear and pride, for even his silence shook their lies. Buried in Baqi alone in the sand, yet in his death a dawn, in his silence a call, that truth will rise through empire's fall.
Thank you for that poem. Let us have a loud salawat for Sister Mishkat. Allahumma salli ala. Next, I would like to call upon Brother Zan Syed to come up for the recitation of a salam. Let us welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. The salam I'll be reciting is in Urdu, and it captures the moment Bibi Sakina sees the lifeless body of her father, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and her innocent heart breaks, expressing the unimaginable grief of a child witnessing the brutal reality of Karbala. Or Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. देखा जब बाप का लाशा तो सकीना रोई देखा जब बाप का लाशा तो सकीना रोई शिमर ने मारा जो दुर्रा शिमर ने मारा जो दुर्रा तो सकीना रोई देखा जब बाप का लाशा तो सकीना रोई मिन्नतें करती रही छोड़ दे बाबा को मेरे मिन्नतें करती रही छोड़ दे बाबा को मेरे शिमर ने हाथ न रोका शिमर ने हाथ न रोका तो सकीना रोई देखा जब बाप का लाशा तो सकीना रोई نہ ملا پانی اسے آگ بجھانے کے لیے، نہ ملا پانی اسے آگ بجھانے کے لیے، جل گیا بھائی کا جھولا، جل گیا بھائی کا جھولا، تو سکینہ روئی، دیکھا جب باپ کا لاشا، تو سکینہ روئی، اوڑھ کر سر پہ ردا، کان میں در پہنے ہوئے، اوڑھ کر سر پہ ردا، کان میں در پہنے ہوئے، سامنے آئی جو رملہ، سامنے آئی جو رملہ، تو سکینہ روئی، دیکھا جب باپ کا لاشا، تو سکینہ روئی۔ کیا سکینہ ہو تمہیں اتنا بتا دو بی بی، کیا سکینہ ہو تمہیں اتنا بتا دو بی بی، ہند نے آ کے جو پوچھا، ہند نے آ کے جو پوچھا، تو سکینہ روئی، دیکھا جب باپ کا لاشا، تو سکینہ روئی۔ صلوات۔
Thank you for the beautiful recitation. Let us have a loud salawat for Brother Zain. Just a few announcements before calling upon Sayyid. Please do not forget to donate generously as you walk out towards the end of the lecture. And if you can, please move forward at least 2 rows in front of you, so that people who will be coming later on in the Majlis, they don't have any trouble finding a spot. So let us recite a loud salawat as we move forward. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I want to have another loud salawat for the sisters to move forward, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I want to have another loud salawat for the sisters to please move forward. Allahumma salli ala. And inshallah, after tonight's lecture, we're going to have a question and answer session with the Sayyid. And the QR code has already been sent out last night. And inshallah, we will have a copy of the QR code available during the session. And if you are interested in the question and answer session, please do not forget, it will be held right after tonight's program in this conference room. And the series of majalis will continue until Friday. And that the last majlis will be on Friday. So tonight, tomorrow, and Friday, we are going to be having honored to have Sayyid speak with us. So please do not forget, Friday will be the last majlis. And those who are interested, please keep coming until Friday. And if you know people who were interested in these majalis, please let them know that it will continue until Friday. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Sayyid Mohammed Hassan Alsherra. Let us welcome him with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If you can move forward, please move forward as well.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على. You are all humbly requested, you can turn it down. You are all humbly requested to recite Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha for the marhumin of those who have sponsored tonight's program. Your marhumin, for those who have no one to remember them. Particular emphasis, inshallah, for Sayyid Shawqat Ali bin Sayyid Fattah Ali, Sayyida Suraya Jabin bint Sayyid Abdul Hassan, Nusrat Hussein Ja'fari, Nasir Ja'fari Muzahir, Hassan Mumtaz Rizvi, Habib Rizvi, Alim Rizvi, Fatima Sughra, Shabih Fatima, Tabassum Zahra, Gulzar Fatima, Naqash Kazmi, and inshallah we will recite dua for the shafa of the marda. A particular emphasis, inshallah, when we finish Amma Yujib for Sister Rubina Sayyid, inshallah ta'ala. Rahimallah min qara al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم سيدي إن لم يجبك بدني عند استغاثتك أو لساني عند استنصارك فقد أجابك قلبي وسمعي وبصري ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما السلام على الحسين. All together. السلام على وعلى علي بن وعلى أولاد وعلى أصحاب الحسين خصوصا سيدي ومولاي قمر بني هاشم كفيل الهواشم السلام عليكم جميعا يا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. أما بعد يقول الله في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. Please illuminate your hearts and bless this gathering with a very loud salawat. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the 34 years following the tragic massacre of the events of Karbala al-Muqaddasa, Al-Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam found there was a lack of spirituality and a lack of humanity within the Muslim Ummah. Therefore, he took it upon himself to do two things. His role of Imamah, as any Imam of Ahl al-Bayt, is distinct based on time and place and responsibility. We all know, as Shia, that every single Imam would have done the same thing if each one's roles was reversed. It's not the case that this one is outstanding because of what he did. It's the case that they saw a responsibility and they fulfilled it because it was their taklif. And if the roles of Al-Hassan and Hussein were flipped, and you know very well, Karbala would have been the same if it was Imam al-Mujtaba and Sayyid al-Shuhada. Likewise, with Al-Imam Zain al-Abideen, his responsibility broke down to primarily two levels. And this shows you that if an ummah finds it necessary and normal to spill blood, and what kind of blood? The blood of the holy, the blood of the noble, the blood of Ahlul Bayt, then it's an ummah lacking two things. One, a sense of humanity. Today, don't we see a sense of humanity being lost? Two, a sense of a broken relationship with God. And today, more than ever, we live in a very godless time. That's why this example, or these two examples, that Imam Zain al-Abideen sought to address are very pertinent in that time as they are in this time. The first is he saw that when a community found it normal to slaughter innocent people and children, think of any community that finds it normal, by the way, it doesn't take a genius right now, to slaughter innocent babies and children and whoever and so forth, this is a community that doesn't believe in God. Therefore, the first thing you must do is introduce God. But you can't begin introducing God if they first don't know who the human is. You have to first introduce the insan. You have to introduce Bani al-Bashar, Bani Adam. Because if I want to tell you about that which you can't see, when you have already no disregard for that you can see, then it will become much difficult to absorb God when you've already rejected the obvious in front of your eyes. Al-Imam Zain al-Abideen did a number of things when it comes to addressing humanity and humans. Number one, he wrote the very famous, you all know this, Risalat al-Huquq, the treatise of the rights of others. But the treatise of the rights of others is fascinating for a few reasons. We're in New York, and you might find the United Nations, and inside the United Nations, they tell you we have a charter of inalienable human rights. A human being should never be deprived of the essentials, no matter where you are and where you come from. Water, shelter, safety. And this is enshrined, alhamdulillah, in our country's constitution. That everyone is allowed the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. These are inalienable human rights. And given that, Al-Imam Zain al-Abideen decided to take it a step further. What he decided to speak about is not something you can find in a constitution. You can't find it enshrined in the charters of rights or the Bill of Rights. He said that there's also a right to your own body, your mom and dad, your parents and your neighbor, the right of the eyes, the right of the ears, the right of your siblings. All of these things came together as elements that Imam said these are lacking in society. And I need to address this. Always remember that as an insan, as a human being, you match with others because you share many common denominators, and this is a common motif in the patterns of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. They, by the way, I hate to say it, but if you don't have the Thaqalain, and if you don't have Ahlul Bayt, you genuinely lose these treasures. Because to you, Imam Ali is just a scholar if you don't accept the worldview of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt as legitimate ma'soomeen, chosen and ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, they are, as Sarouche says, or Kedivar says, al-ulama al-abrar. Yeah, good job. Those are ulama. Those of all people, you call those ulama. These are not just righteous scholars. They are what the splendor of the righteous scholar aims to be. Ahlul Bayt, like Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, you can have people divided into two, either your equals in humanity or your brothers in faith. And given this, Imam Zain al-Abideen said, let me remove faith and let's just look at a human being. Because it is helpful to remember that if you want to preach to the way of God, start by preaching to the way of the human first. And that's why one of our ulama said, Ayatollah Sheikh Jawadi Amuli, he says that there's a hikmah, meaning a piece of wisdom, why God makes all his prophets deal with the animals first before dealing with the humans first. Says how? Says if you look at Musa, he has a staff to do what? He's a shepherd. The prophet, he was a shepherd for most of his time, early on. If you look at Jesus and the lamb, he's a shepherd. You see all these great anbiya, they would constantly deal with the world of animals. Says why? He says because Allah in some format has already chosen them and they're good to go, but he wants to display that if you can tolerate the world of that which has no aql, has no reasoning, then you're going to deal with something worse than that which has no reasoning. You're going to deal with those that have reasoning. but they're going to use illogical nonsense to prove their corruption. First, deal with those who are from the world of animals. You can't reason to them, but if you can control them, then you can, inshallah, control the world of the human being. And the human being is a world that's very divided. It's very corrupt. That's why Imam Zainul Abideen said, guys, we're humans. And we are sanctified. And Allah has honored us. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. He's honored the people and the children of Adam for a few reasons. As you see in the ayat of the Holy Quran, when Allah displays to the angels that I'm going to bring down a representative to this world that I created. And Allah makes it very clear to the angelic world that وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. And when your Lord spoke to the angelic world, you know about angels, how beautiful they are, how comforting they seem. Here you get a very interesting version of the malaika where they begin protesting. And I used to think, mashallah, they're like, they have the halo, they got the wings, and they wear the white dishdasha, and they're shining. And, you know, they always are obedient, which they are, by the way. But then they're like, قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَن يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءِ. You're going to bring down, so they question, you're going to bring down on the earth, مَن يُفْسِدُ, so fasad, corruption, وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءِ, and spill blood. Their first observation wasn't, guys, this is so incredible. Their first observation wasn't, you're going to bring down someone who's not going to worship you. The first observation wasn't, you're going to bring down someone who's not going to do tasbih, who's not going to fast, who's going to be belligerent in your way, who's not going to understand your haqq. The first thing they said was on a human level. You're going to bring down someone who'll spread corruption and spill blood. To the angels, I don't care if you've prayed and fasted. I don't care if you have, mashallah, the whole Quran memorized. I couldn't care less. When you find it normal to shed the blood of the innocents, all that goes to waste. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would rather much prefer that you live a life of Ahlul Bayt and have shortcomings regarding God, rather than saying, I have no shortcomings regarding my ibadah, but you live a life of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. At the end of the day, brothers and sisters, Allah's biggest amana on earth is that you don't spill the blood of the innocent. Don't abuse others. Don't oppress others. Don't hurt others. Don't make injustice. Who are you? Maliki Yawmiddin. Allah. One day, look at this. And this is narrated in Sahih Bukhari. But this hadith we accept because it's found in our narrations. Amr ibn al-As finds an ant hill and he burns it up. He sets it on fire. Sometimes little kids will see bugs and just for fun, right? It's not a good habit to get into. I read a report, most serial killers start off doing what? Maskeen, the animal. Why? But before the animal and the squirrel, it's like the bug. This is not, is it haram, is it halal? If it's bothering you, it's another deal. There are some people, they're like bugs though, but you can't do anything to them. Allah will deal with them. He burns the whole ant mound. And Rasulullah said to him, Mahan ya Amr, innaha qawmun ta'budullah. This is a nation that worships Allah, and you just found it normal to burn. And then he said a critical line, La yu'adhibu bin nar illa khaliqun nar. None are allowed to burn and torture with fire except the creator of fire. That's why we reject any hadith that says Imam Ali burnt people alive. Have you heard of such hadiths, by the way? I've come across them, and some people, well, because it's accepted in the literature of the non-Shia, and so sometimes you are beholden to narrations that you have, especially if on the title of your book you slap Sahih on it. What can you do but accept it? In this juncture, Allah made it very clear that only I have that, because it's cruel, it's unusual, and the bottom line is, it's inhumane. Their main concern was, Ya God, when you bring down someone who is going to represent you, they're going to spill blood and corruption. Nothing about worship. Look at what the angels prioritized. Because how many people have the Quran memorized? How many people have the long beard? How many people look like they're a big saint, a guru, or something that has ancient wisdom and knowledge? And they're like Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan to their wives, to their children. They're horrible. They're aggressive. They're abusive. Not Abu Yusuf. Abusive. They're very violent. Their tongue is sharp. It's like, what use is that salah? Salah What was that about? Salah, if it's not supposed to refine your soul, why are you praying? Now, that doesn't mean if you don't feel that your soul's being not refined, that you don't pray. But you have to make a point. You've lived this life, and it hasn't checked you, and it hasn't anchored you. Islam, what is it besides akhlaq? Rasulullah says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ. Itmam means what? لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Itmam means to complete. Yani, what does that mean? I love this. It means that there is akhlaq even without religion. There is mannerism and there is decency. Because you don't need religion to tell you racism is wrong. Do you really need God to tell you that? Then now you need more help than finding your religion. You need to visit a therapist. If you feel that it's normal to judge others on the basis of pigmentation levels, if it's higher, if it's lower, get a life. Or there are those who find it normal to belittle others because of where they're from, or what gender they are, or how they've lived in the past, but now they are different. These elements, brothers and sisters, these are not denominators of akhlaq and respect. Given this, making this very clear, Prophet said there, I have to complete it. Meaning what? Meaning you can have akhlaq, but it needs to be fulfilled. What akhlaq did they have back then? If you're talking the Arabs and the 7th century Arabian Peninsula, and these riffraffs would bury babies alive. And what akhlaq do they have that he has to complete? He says, no, they have some. For example, in their era, it's very clear, and this is actually today as well. The Middle Eastern hospitality is quite obvious. That if someone were to come and visit from out of town, without questioning, they'll tell you, stay with us for like 3 days, and then be on your way, and we won't even ask you what your purpose is. They had that even in the Jahili time period, and Rasulullah said, this is good. There was a time period where they wouldn't go to war 4 months out of the year. إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم. From among the 12 months that God has made, 4 of them are sacred. Why? Because pre-Islam, they would say, you know what, 4 months, let's not fight, let's just leave. Prophet said, good culture. See, this is culture. Islam said, we'll keep that aspect of culture, which shows that there is room in Islam for culture. Culture is beautiful. What's wrong with having culture? What's wrong with dressing a certain way? Granted, it's not above Sharia. That's all. In your wedding, you like to break plates? Do whatever you want, I don't care. Just don't waste, don't do israf. And don't make in a haram manner, in an atmosphere, but you can celebrate in a manner that is befitting within. You can. I don't understand why people think that in order to have an optimal time in a gathering, you have to entertain haram. But by culture, it does it this way. That aspect of the culture pushes to the side. There's an aspect you can embrace where people are gathered. A nasheed, in this nation, you recite this kind of nasheed. In the Gulf, you can recite, that's fine. If it's within a realm that doesn't cross the boundaries of Sharia. There are aspects of culture that are allowed. There are aspects of culture that are not allowed. One aspect Rasulullah saw that said, look, because of this, I won't say I came to give you akhlaq. I came to fulfill it. One of these was the generosity. If you were to compliment any of these Bedouins, even someone like Abu Lahab or Abu Jahl, if you were to say, hey, you compliment that which they own. They might have a camel or they might have a donkey. Not a camel, let's just say, something less expensive. Let's say they have a donkey or a goat. And they say, MashaAllah, you have a very nice animal. They will feel compelled to give it to you for free. This, by the way, is still this. I remember once I visited my uncle in Basra, Iraq, and what did I tell him? I saw him wearing a watch. Okay, so you know what I did? I said, oh, Khalu, you have a very nice watch. He's like, here, take it, it's all yours. So I got that idea. Like, uncle, you have also a nice car, and a nice TV, and a nice couch. How about the Arab hospitality? He's like, you can't abuse it, okay? But in this case, there's a logic of, listen, if you're going to compliment, I feel too embarrassed to have you praise something I own, and it's like what you're implying you want it. Here, take it for free. Rasulullah sees some of these attitudes, and he says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ, to fulfill it. Why? On a human level, I need to fulfill makarim. Makarim means the most sublime akhlaq. It is to say that on a human level, brothers and sisters, you need to recognize everyone's dignity. It's the first cause, it's the first glimpse of awareness. Malaika said, oh no, not on our watch, Ya Allah. And this is Allah. This is Allah saying that to them. And guess what they do? Malaika, right? They're supposed to be obedient, most subservient, most to be loyal, has to be devout. They give Allah an alternative. They said, وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. And we glorify you in thanks and sanctify you. It's like basically you're going to make him, Adam basically, the first of your khulafa. And he's going to spill blood and corruption and bloodshed and evilness and all of that. While we, implying what? Maybe give us khilafah. Maybe make us those who are the holders of representing you, Almighty. Because that's what khilafah is, by the way. Don't let anyone tell you khilafah means politics and rulership in the theology and aqidah of, I would say, Islam Ahlul Bayt. But just straight up Islam. God is demonstrating khilafah comes from up, down. I choose who I want to represent me. Isn't that common sense? If I have someone that I want representing me, I would think I get to choose that person. Where it comes to the tragic day of Saqifa, it's a matter of, no, we'll pick who represents you. But that's not how it works. When you vote for the top person, they choose their vice. They choose their CFO. Let the guy make his, because he knows best in this context. In this case, God gave one reply. He said, قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. That's it. I know that which you don't know. The next ayah said, the next ayah is the reason why God chose Adam and not Malaika. Said, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءِ كُلَّهَا. And Allah taught Adam all names. It is to imply that the only reason God chose mankind to be those who hold on to representing the divine, to all the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is because of the capacity of handling knowledge, to be able to hold ilm. وَعَلَّمَ Adam al-asma. He taught Adam all the names. One of the names, by the way, what this means, if you read any tafsir, what do you mean taught Adam names? What names? One hadith actually tells us, by the way, you run into this ayah, one hadith actually says that, no, genuinely, he taught him every single name ever. And your name, your name, your name. Says why? It's because that's your granddad, and he has a right to know who his children are. And so he went through all the names. He got to, is Adam, right? We're all related. Oh, is that cool? You're all cousins. You're all my cousins, right? That's an interesting family gathering that we have, yeah? The thing is, he got to the name of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, according to the hadith. And he said, Ya Allah, what an impressive grandson I have. What's his name? He says Dawood. David, Dawood, the father of Sulaiman. He says, yeah. Oh my God. Why is he so impressed? He's both prophet and he's a king. Because most of us, if we're just prophets, we don't really get to rule anything. Ya Allah, we just worship you. We're humble. We're usually subservient to kings. He's like, for the first time, alhamdulillah, he's a prophet king. Ya Allah, I'm impressed with this son of mine. I hope when he got to your name and my name, he's like, I really like what they're doing, what they're up to. He's like, Ya Allah, how long does Dawood live for? Allah said, according to this hadith, in Qasas al-Anbiya by Sayyidina Amatullah Jazairi, says Dawood, 50 years. Just 50, Allah, that's kind of light. That's not much. And prophet and king, lives 50. Say, Allah, how long do I live? He's like, you? 1,000. Allah, take 50 from me, give it to him. That's all. The response is, are you sure? It's like, yeah. But I won't even notice it. I live for 1,000, not minus 50. What's that? 950. So it's like, I can handle losing 50, ya Allah. But him, make it 100. The hadith says when it came down to him being, 949, and just a year off, right? Malik al-Maut, angel of death, comes to him. Says to him, Ha Adam. He says, what's up? It's time to go. He's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. He's like, but no. I remember God gave me 1,000. He's like, you forgot. You gave 50 to Dawood. He's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. Oh, man. I can imagine that was an interesting conversation. I know. It's like, no, you can't take it back either. You gave 50 to him. He's like, that's fine. Adam in this context, receives all the names. The hadith by the tafsir of As-Suyuti, who is a non-Shi'i alim. Non-Shi'i in his tafsir, Ad-Dur al-Manthur. Dur al-Manthur is a tafsir, a very high caliber one. Ad-Dur al-Manthur of a Shaykh al-Suyuti says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاء كُلَّهَا was when he got to the names of the 5 Kisa of Ahl al-Bayt. He read these names and he said, Ya Allah, these are impressive names to me. Then Allah in the Holy Quran says that when Adam began to call upon Allah for forgiveness, he called upon Allah for forgiveness, فَدَعَاهُ, he called him with these names. These are the names he began to say, you know the dua. If you ever feel like you've sinned so much, make the following Adam dua. He said, Allahumma bihaqqi Muhammadin wa anta al-mahmud wa bihaqqi Aliyan wa anta al-Aliyu al-a'la wa bihaqqi Fatimatin wa anta fatiru al-samawati wal-ard wa bihaqqi al-Hasan ya Rabb al-alamin wa anta al-Muhsin wa bihaqqi al-Husayn وأنت قديم الإحسان اغفر لي يا Allah. The ayah says فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. Allah then forgave him. Now Adam, did he even sin so that he has to say forgive me? Because many will say that there was a sin involved, how he decided to disobey God. Number one, can you sin in Jannah to Adnin? Can you sin when you're in a Jannah? So there's no sin. Number two, because people will actually say this. If you're Christian, you believe this, by the way. If you're Jewish, you believe this. And if you're a non-Shi'i, you believe this as well, because this is our hadith you're beholden to. If you're a Shia follower of Ahlul Bayt, your definition of Usma is more protected, where you don't look at a prophet and say, you're a sinner. Hold on, if God tells me avoid something, I'm going to listen. So what happens in this case? The story of Allah telling Adam that I will bring down to an earth a Khalifa was before Allah telling Adam, لا تقرب هذه الشجرة. So the plan already was to what? To come down to earth and be his representative. Some people misunderstand, by not even reading the Quran properly, that because he ate, what? Allah has to now discipline him, and we all have the human race as a result, so Allah kicks him out of heaven. That's not how the order of things works. This is just a matter of the plan originally was to come down, and Adam alayhi salam, there are different levels of infallibility. Given all of this, brothers and sisters, the main observation that we highlight here is the attention to humanity and humanitarianism. That the angels, their main concern wasn't ibadah, wasn't salah, wasn't som. It was straight up, I am sad that someone's going to spill blood. Adam didn't spill blood, didn't spread corruption, but there's going to be a generation from him, unfortunately, and that's it. From a great tree, you can have bad apples. It can exist. And also from a very bad tree, you can have amazing apples. You don't hold people and judge them based off of marriage. You judge them based off of merit, brothers and sisters. In this context, Imam Zainul Abideen writes for the society 50 odd rights that encompass even your body parts and your stomach and your eyes and your ears, and the role of the mu'adhin and your neighbor and your mother and your father and your sister and your son and your daughter, and so on and so forth. I encourage you to read this. This anchored a Muslim ummah to not belittle these elements in life, to not forget that, listen, I have a sibling. Let me call them. Let me check in on them. And you know how this will change your course of history? It will, wallah, it will change. I haven't seen things that change people's lives more than silatul rahim. I personally haven't seen. I swear, and I swear, genuinely, sincerely, if you decide to just put aside some of the family drama and say, for the sake of my grandma's eyes, for her sake, I will gather in that meeting with my mom and my dad, even though we are on bad terms, for the sake of my grandmother. She doesn't deserve this because of something silly, because of me bringing that one friend who they don't like, but he's my friend, or because of some petty nonsense, or because of some silly thing. The most petty arguments split up families over what? There was a man in the time of Nabiullah Sulaiman. You're like, where are these prophet stories coming from? Qasas al-Anbiya by Sayyid Ni'matullah al-Jazairi. Sayyid Ni'matullah is whose grandfather, by the way? My grandfather, from my mom's side. So remember, I had to plug in that. It's translated into English, by the way, by the great and legend Yasin Jaburi. It's Stories of the Prophets. You may find it on al-islam.org. It mentions that there was a man who in the time of Nabi Sulaiman, Prophet Sulaiman is preaching, and he sees in the assembly a guy sitting crisscross, looking at him, and he sees at the door, prophets can see beyond what we can. He sees Malik al-Maut, angel of death, Israel, and he says, oh, this man is being eyed by Israel, Malik al-Maut. Oh, his time is coming. When? I don't know though. The next day, Prophet Sulaiman is preaching, and he sees the angel of death getting closer to that guy. Imagine sitting down, he's just looking at the preach, and he sees angel of death getting closer. The third day, he's sitting right next to him. Prophet Sulaiman says, oh, tomorrow's the day. I'm not going to see you probably. And the man doesn't know because malaika. The thing is, when the speech finished, Nabi Sulaiman said, Malik al-Maut, 1 second, are you going to take his life tomorrow? He says, yeah. You could tell, right? He's like, yeah, I see you getting closer. He's like, yeah. Malik al-Maut, he's young though. He was probably young, like under 20, let's just assume. The next day, Prophet Sulaiman is preaching, and he's expecting to not see who? That guy. The thing is, he sees him, but he doesn't see the angel of death. He says, what? Maybe he needs another day to kick in. Maybe he's late. Angels are never late. The day passes, he sees him. The third day comes, he's like, wait a second, what? I thought he was going to die. Nabi Sulaiman calls for the angel of death. Malik al-Maut comes and he says, hey, what happened? He says, why don't you go ask him what happened? Something changed. He says, fine. He does his speech and he sees the man seated. When he finishes, they all go up to leave. Nabi Sulaiman says, but can I just have a word with you? He says, of course, Ya Nabiullah, what's going on? He says, I want to ask you, has something changed in your life? Notice how one decision changes the course of your life. So what, did something change? No, not really. He's like, no, did you do something? He's like, not that I know. No. He's like, tell me, did you do something that you typically don't do? He says, to be honest, I decided, yes, to visit my mother who I haven't seen in a while. I decided to pay her a visit. He's like, for any reason? He's like, no, because I just felt bad. She's my mom and she deserves that I see her. Like, how long haven't you seen her before? He says, it's been a while. He's like, okay, I get it. Nabi Sulaiman sees the angel of death again. He says he visited his mom. He says, do you know that he was supposed to die? But because he visited his mother, Allah loved that so much, he said, give him another 50 years. As a result, Silatul Rahim means to maintain the ties and connection with those of the Rahim. Rahim means the womb. Womb means what? Whoever you're linked to virtue by womb of your mom, your siblings, so basically the nuclear family, they have a haqq over you. And the haqq over you means what? That you check in on them. You ask them. That doesn't mean just mom. Oh, it's her mom as well. Because there's a connection with a womb somewhere. A grandmother. These people, I hate to break it to you, you might not have the best, most colorful, you have to talk to them. What about if they're horrible, if they're negligent, that's on them. Don't be like them. How about that one? And you make the effort to change them. It's like there's no way they can change. If they cut off connection with you, that's different. That means if you even try to reach out, they don't, then you still pray for them. You give sadaqah out. There has to still be something. The worst is qat'ur rahim. When a person severs ties. The same way if you connect ties, Allah increases and gives you rizq. If you cut ties, Allah straight up slashes all that rizq. Gets rid of it. That a person is destined to live X years, that because they sever ties with someone, they actually should not be severing ties. And listen, if it's for the sake of Allah, it's different. Because they violate Allah, They harm the name of Allah. They belittle Allah. You try obviously to guide them, to inspire them. If there's none of that, they literally wage war against God, then Allah would expect you to stay away from such creatures at that point. That's not rahim anymore. Why? Because even Nabi Nuh, when God said, Ya Allah, my son is very disobedient, you know what God said? إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ إِبْنَكَ إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. That he's not your son. That biological blood relatives in the eyes of Allah could not be related anymore? He says, yes, why? Because the amal was not salih. The work and the act that they done was not pure. It was impure. How dare you defy when a prophet of God says, my beloved son, join me. I'm trying to help you. And he belittles his dad. First of all, that's not just your prophet. That's your baba. That's your dad. That's someone who's a part of you, who will give his whole life for you, but you belittle them. Some people, wallah, they need a reality check. The best of friends should be your mom and your dad, but let's not go off on that tangent. These things increase one's life. Imam Zainul Abideen says that this is a society that forgot mama, and they forgot baba, and they forgot brother, and they forgot sister. I gotta start reminding them literally common sense. Dad, remember, he is your source. Whatever you see that impresses you, always know that you are an extension of his asl. Whenever you're proud, remember that man through blood, sweat, and tears, through pain and struggle. The difference between your mom and your dad is that your mom brings you to the world, your dad brings the world to you. Your mom gives you food to eat. Your dad teaches you how to never go hungry. Your mom holds you on her lap. Your dad holds you on his back. Your mom was always there for you. Your dad would never be late for you. Your mom stayed up at night taking care of you. Your dad would never sleep if he knew you were hurt. They came together, and that's the beauty of the union of your parents. Yes, they may have bothered me, they may have whatever. It doesn't matter. For the sake of Allah, for the sake of family, for the sake of Salatul Rahim, it's like, forget that. For the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, I will now, common sense, humanity, the second element. Imam Zainul Abideen saw a society that if it can find it normal to kill the progeny of the Prophet they worship, then they have no sense of God. It's a godless society. People who worship none but Allah, they worship themselves and not Allah, these people don't believe a day of accountability. That's why the biggest criminals are those who don't really fear God. They just fear their money and their pockets and everything else and their power. Because they don't believe that they'll be held accountable. And that's how people get away with it. Anyone who commits a heinous crime, remember, at least at that moment, they didn't worship God. And the worst, wallahi al-azim, the worst of these people are those who use God as an excuse. What was Ibn Ziyad when he said, كَيْفَ رَأَيْتِ صُنْعَ Allah, Allah بِأَخِيكِ? How do you feel what God? Look who he's blaming. God. They're using God. Have you guys seen the movie Spotlight? This movie Spotlight, it's a very fascinating movie. It discloses the tragedies of pedophilia found in the Catholic Church, which was a tragedy and is an ongoing one, whereby you found victims because of their vulnerable positions in their state, that they would take advantage of them. They would say 3/4 of all victims of those who claim to be members of God at churches from the fathers and the priests, mainly due to the celibacy that they endure and the power-hungry struggles that they have to go through and deal with, they would say 3/4 of all of these altar boys and victims became atheists. I don't blame them. Wallahi al-Aliyyul Azim, I don't blame them. Because when holier than thou comes and says, I am what you should be and ideally look up to because I represent God, begins to harm others, it's like, if that's what makes a God-loving person do, then I don't want anything to do with you. But then there are those who say, listen, they may have committed crimes against humanity and injustice, but that shouldn't represent the one I know to be clean and pure, Rabbul Alameen. They are false actors in the name of God. And yes, they could keep using God, and that's why, guys, it's a human trait. It's just a human trait. That when you see trauma, it's normal. But that's why we're cut from a cloth that's different, brothers and sisters. We survived Karbala through chains and fire. We're not going to fold or compromise. We've been through the worst, and we're the Shia lovers of Ahlul Bayt. We've seen it all. Nothing's going to stop us. It's normal, however, it's just human psychology, that when you deal through trauma, there comes a time, maybe, where you begin to question, God, why? How come? Al-Shaykh al-Mufid, one of our grand scholars, records in his Khisal that ارتدت الناس بعد قتل الحسين. People committed apostasy after the Shahada of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Why would people commit apostasy? Meaning they just left Islam. But this happened in 2 waves, by the way. 2 times in Islamic history where there was a mass leaving of Islam. This never happened before, just twice. The second is Karbala. The first was Saqifa. And they even called it Hurub al-Ridda, the Ridda Wars, the apostasy wars. And this was for a whole host of reasons. Some said, how on earth could this religion fall into the hands of individuals who are now choosing who God's representatives are, when I saw with my own 2 eyes, wallah, I did, that on the day of Ghadir Khum, it was made very clear and established, how can his rights be usurped as such? This could shake people, brothers and sisters. After all those years, those arduous, those difficult and tumultuous years, 24 years of spreading Islam, the Prophet dies, and this is what you guys do? And then persecute his daughter? You know what? If God is real, astaghfirullah. If God is real, he wouldn't let this happen. It's a human thing. Someone loses a child, it's like, why God? I know it's challenging, I know it's a human thing. Shaykh al-Mufid says, بعد قتل الحسين ارتدت الناس إلا 3. Except 3. Everyone left Islam except 3. If you're a Shia lover of Ahlul Bayt and you read history, it literally looks like no one had faith that day. Who? Mohammed bin Jubair, Yahya ibn al-Tawil, and you had Muhammad bin Anas al-Kabuli. These, Anas ibn al-Harith al-Kabuli, Muhammad bin Jubair, and Yahya ibn al-Tawil. These are just 3 people. They were from the Sahaba of Imam Zainul Abideen. Of course, this does not include Imam Zainul Abideen and the very close Shia, like Jabir bin Abdullah and among the others. So why did they stay firm? Because they said, Ya Allah, I know what happens was difficult. I want you to picture the tragedy of Karbala. Its magnitude isn't what you just hear what I say or some alim, may Allah bless all ulama and khutaba, says. I want you to really picture. Think of someone you love. And this is, we're talking in the caliber of Imam al-Hussein. You'll never find someone you love more than Imam Hussein, because I know you all love Imam Hussein more than your own selves. But think of who in this dunya do you love. Now I want you to replace Imam Hussein in your mind with them, and make sure you envision them going through what Imam Hussein went, just half of it, that you see them suffer. Think of a marji' deen you love. You would hate to see anyone harm them. What about if they're holding their 6-month-old baby and the head on the spear and the family being paraded? How difficult is that one? I don't even want to entertain that. People saw that in their own eyes. The only people that saw this was Karbala. It doesn't help when you're getting paraded from city and city. And the hadith mentioned that the Holy Family went far beyond what we know. That's why there's a maqam in Syria, maqam in Halab, maqam in Mosul, a maqam in Lebanon. There's a masjid called Masjid Ra's al-Hussein in Qahira, in Cairo. This was seen throughout the Ummah. I'm not surprised that when people see, isn't that who the Prophet would kiss on a spear? If Islam and God is real, why would he let this happen? That's a test, brothers and sisters. It's normal that this happens, that people begin to just question everything. But you have to stay firm. You have to anchor yourself. Imam Zainul Abideen said that this ummah needs its relationship with God back. So for the first element with humanity, he wrote Risalat al-Huquq. The second element with God, you know very well what he did. He gave you the gems, that is a Sahif, a Sajjadiyah, or what we call Zabur al-Muhammad, the Psalms of the Ahl al-Bayt. You hear about the Psalms of David. These are poetry and melodic hymns and tones and songs in the Christian and the biblical Old Testaments. These are the Psalms. We have that too, called the Psalms of Al-Muhammad. And we may have touched it a little bit in the first night. You will never find, I challenge anyone to find something like this. You will never find a more raw, intimate, beautiful, powerful, vulnerable expression of love between the Creator and the created and that relationship than something like in Dua Abi Hamza al-Thumali when Imam Zainul Abideen says, Ilahi, I, my Lord, haribun minka ilayk. I'm running away from you but to you, that I can't even escape you, Ya Allah. It's the most deep and rich and beautiful expressions of someone enriched in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's saying this as a way to revive a godless society, that you need dua. Never undermine the power of dua, brothers and sisters. Some might tell you, you do dua and your dua is shirk. Why is it shirk? It says you invoke others, and the Quran says don't invoke others. If you're asking me to genuinely wonder, we can entertain this conversation. But most conversations like you're doing shirk is just an insult. It's just pejorative. Don't entertain anyone who wants to insult you. Because if you want a discussion that's civil, then you can have that discussion. But most complaints come through the direction of, you guys are mushriks. Well, give me a chance to explain. Says why? Because you read the Quran, فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. Don't call upon God, don't call among God others. And then technically when we say, Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali Madad, Ya Fatima, Ya Aba al-Fadl, Ya, aren't these du'as that are being done aside from God? Because at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, we believe every single component of your beliefs in your deen, you can find it in the Holy Quran. And this is something we can die on. Everything we believe in, we can find a trace, at least a root, a citation, a reference in the Holy Quran. The day you do something and it's related to religion that's not rooted in the Quran, I will tell you, throw it away. That's how confident we are, by the way. From aza, from tawassul, from wasila, from la'na, from tawalli, from tabarri. All of these we can find it in the Holy Quran. But we need an ummah that reads the Quran, for goodness sake. In this context, you can reply back with another ayah of the Holy Quran. You can quickly give the answer that Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha wabtaghu ilayhi alwasila. That's a common answer. It's a great answer. O you who believe, be conscientious of Allah and find a way to get to Him. And you as a Shia, your response is, what better way to get to Allah than through Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim. But some might tell you, but the wasila is salah, the wasila is 1, 2, and 3, the wasila is the Quran, and you'd be like, that you can't say no to that. That is true. I want to know from the way you do as such. You could say, for example, they hit you with, you know the surah, I hope you do. It's Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. So to you we worship and to you we rely on. So it's like you can't rely on others. Isti'ana, a'inni ya ghiyath, a'inni ya Allah. This is saying you rely only on God. So how are you able to rely on others? Ya this and help me here and help me there. There's another ayah of the Holy Quran though that says Ista'inu bis sabri wal salah, and rely on patience and prayer. So now we have you rely on God, but you can also rely on patience and rely on prayer. What's the common denominator? Rely on anything that can take you to God, whether it's patience, whether it's salah, or whether it's the embodiment of salah, the Ahl al-Bayt themselves. Another ayah of the Holy Quran is very obvious. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. فَلَمَّا وَقَعَ عَلَيْهِمُ الرِّجْسُ Bani Israel, Allah punished them, the Egyptians then, before they left. What happened? He punished them. He made the Nile turn into blood. You know, locusts, the bug, the grasshopper thing. He made so much that, I don't want to gross you out, but they were everywhere that some would say we would find them in mouths of people because that's how much they occupied the space. It's like that's truly a calamity, a bunch of bug infestation. He said the frogs were everywhere, people got sick. Rijz is calamity from the heavens, by the way. فَلَمَّا وَقَعَ When calamity befell them, what did Bani Israel and the Egyptians say? قَالُوا يَا مُوسَى ادْعُوا لَنَا رَبَّكَ. O Musa, make dua for us to your Lord. They could have easily said, قَالُوا يَا Allah. And of course, we all do Ya Allah. But Allah told us that there's a time and place where sometimes it's better for your sake to go through someone that I am closer to than I am to you. Because you might have shortcomings, but this one, they've done a good job, and I'm more likely to listen to them than to you. I hear everything, but I may not answer your dua necessarily. Why? Because this one, they've always met my expectations. قالوا يا موسى ادعو لنا ربك بما أحيط عندك. So when Musa made the dua, the Nile became clean, the bugs went away, people got better. Why? Because someone closer to God made dua for them. Imam Zainul Abideen taught society that speak to Allah for goodness sake. Ask Him for anything. We even have a hadith that says, ask Allah for any small thing, even if it's the salt for your food. It's like, am I going to waste that? Number one, Allah is infinite. There is no limit to your dua. Ask so much that you're like, I don't know what's left to ask. Ask Allah so much that you feel like, I don't know what else to ask. But like, you know what? How about salt on my food? There's no shame in that. Because you're saying, Ya Allah, I have tawakkul in you. I can't have anything unless it's done without you, with you, Ya Allah. I can't do anything without you. سلني كل ما تحتاج إليه حتى علف طعامك وشات نعامك. Ask me whatever you want, even if it's the feed for your animals or the salt or the spices and stuff for your food. Meaning, have that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you might run into an issue though, where it's like, but I make dua and I don't even see anything happening. Number one, Allah never says no to you. Never Allah says no. Never. Why? Because He is the one who said, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that id'uni astajib lakum. Make dua to me, I will answer you. So it's like, can Allah be wrong? No. So clearly, what's happening here? Something's happening. Either when you make dua, one of three things happen. Either number one, Allah is waiting to see if you will get what you want and in a timely manner when it's best for you. It doesn't have to be right now. Ya Allah, bless me with a good family. How come this year I didn't have a good family? Ya Allah, and you promised you'll answer everything. It's like, maybe not now. Maybe not you're ready. So it's like either not now, or number two, it wasn't for your own good. So it's not Him saying no. It's Him saying, change your dua a little bit. Or number three, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you something else that's better for you. But there is never, give me something, Ya Allah, help me out, and He says no to you. He never does that. He either gives you what you want instantly, that's another component, or He either postpones it for you, or He either gives you what you want but better, or He either, subhanahu wa ta'ala, diverts away from you that which you wanted, which would have been bad for you. So Allah doesn't answer bad du'as. Did you know that? It's like, Ya Allah, I would really love to get into this school. But that school, in the infinite wisdom of Allah, you know it's far away from any community. It's in a different state. And in this state, there's no atmosphere where you can be tied into your faith properly. There are bad actors that'll try to take you somewhere. Allah says, look, I know what's good for you. I'm going to not put you there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the dua process. Furthermore, there are things you can do to hasten them, to increase the likelihood. There's a hadith by the Holy Prophet that says, كل دعاء معلق. Every dua is hanging. So you say, Allahumma wafiq li ahli, ighfir li, Allahumma shafi al-marda. All of these, all of them, they're hanging. They're hanging. You know why your dua is not being answered? Because it's just hanging up here. How do I make it go through? كل دعاء معلق حتى يصلي على محمد وآل محمد. Every dua is pending until you do a salawat. So you do a salawat before you make a dua, your dua is likely to be answered. But also after you made the dua, you make a salawat. Why? Because when you do salawat, what is it? It's just a dua. Allahumma ya Allah, salli ala. Increase, bless, uplift the status even further of the Prophet and his family. That's a dua that's answered, right? Prophet, Allah would not reject that from you. So if that dua is answered, and then you squeeze in your dua in the middle, so sandwich it, and then you end it with your dua at the end, Habibi, if Allah answered this and Allah answers that, you think he's going to miss this one? It's like, I swear, one time when we were sitting down in the Husayniyah, Iraqi Husseiniya. So we sit on the floor, on the wall. And so, I don't know, maybe it was I was small, but I was sitting between two ulama, one of them my dad. And so someone brings chai, tea, and he gives my dad the tea first. I'm like, okay, fine, you can give him the tea first because he's, so he gives him the tea first. But then he passes me and he gives this guy the tea. I'm like, Baba, wait. He's like, if he gave it to me, he gave it to him, you think he's gonna miss you? He's like, oh yeah. He comes on, it's like, and now here you go. Because you're not gonna be missed if you're between two accepted. You're not gonna be rejected if you're between two accepted. So Allah will less likely reject your dua if it's in between two accepted du'as. That's why the dua hangs. It's like, I just need a push. Fine. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala In this case, make a dua. I stop coughing for goodness sake. In this case, Allah will answer that dua more likely. There's also something else. Imam Ali teaches us this very beautifully. You can't be sitting left, right, and center, up and down, left and right, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You can't be sinning so much and then be like, give me this now. Hold on. It's not a business, buddy. Now I'm going to do all that, but you're still going to give me what I want. Hold on. First say astaghfirullah, clean that surface, then apply the sticker. You want it to stick, but it's all dusty. First wipe it off, then apply what you want and see if it'll link, if it'll stay. So another beautiful reminder, and to brothers and sisters, do an istighfar. Allahumma salli ala. Ask for your haja. End it with another salawat. When you do all of these, brothers and sisters, the likelihood of your dua being answered just exponentially increases in ways you don't even imagine. Imam Zainul Abideen teaches us all of these things. And Ummah needs to remember, and Ummah needs to reflect, and Ummah needs to speak to God in ways that are beautiful. These things, they revive that soul. Not lastly, you see, Imam Ali, he teaches us this by saying, Allahumma ighfir li al-dhunub allati tahbisul dua. Forgive me of the sins that hold back my dua. There's another thing you can do. وَإِلَيْكَ يَا رَبِّي مَدَدْتُ يَدِي وَإِلَيْكَ يَا رَبِّي نَصَبْتُ وَجْهِي. That it doesn't hurt to just do this. Shwaya, relax. It's not going to kill you. It's like, it's too humbling. Who cares, man? You're talking to God. Do this. Do one of these ones. And this position in qunut is a position that reminds you that you're a beggar. To Allah, you can have everything. People could want from you, beg from you. You could be rich. MashaAllah. To Allah, you are faqir. You have to say, Ya Allah, ilayka ya Rabbi badattu yadi, nasabtu wajhi. There's something else you can do. Imam Zainul Abideen does all of these. He's called Dhil Thafanat, the one who has the marks of the ibadah on his masajid al-sab'a. You hear about the marks of ibadah on his forehead. He had them on all his 7 parts, his hands, his knees, his toes, salawat rabbi wa salamuhu alayhi. He had those all. Why? Because he says that sometimes when you incorporate your body into this as well, extend your hands, there's something else you can do. Ya man ismuhu dawa wa dhikruhu shifa wa ta'atuhu ghina irham man ra'su malihi al-raja wa silahuhu cry. It doesn't hurt, habibi, wallah. You know how much it softens the heart when you shed a tear. Some might say, I don't cry. La. You just are not used to feeling vulnerable in front of Allah. Imagine if someone comes up to you and says, help me. You're a genuine human, you'll help them. But if they come up to you with tears in their eyes, you don't even need to ask them what they want. Just like, take whatever you need. If you come to me in this position and in this state, I am here for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us even when we're not asking Him. But imagine if you implement all of these things. All of these. Al-Imam al-Sadiq says to us one last thing. That if you want your dua to be answered, if you implement all of these things, watch how your dua will be answered. He says, إِذَا دَعَوْتَ فَظَنْ أَنَّ حَاجَتَكَ بِالْبَابِ. If you make dua, then know that your dua is at the door. Your hajat is right there. You have to make supplication with full yaqeen it's happening. Not 90%, not 95%. Be like, Ya Allah, I'm making this, and 100% I know you could do this. If you relinquish a little bit of that trust, and you're like, Ya Allah, يعني, I don't know if you're going to do this for me. Then obviously, I don't know, don't expect it to happen. If you're beginning to doubt Allah, well, you think Allah still, don't doubt. Be like, Ya Allah, I know you can do this. Ya Sami' ad-du'a. Make it happen because you can. This is called tawakkul. Have tawakkul. Tawakkul, one of the names of Allah is Wakil. You remember the cousin of Imam al-Hussein? Wakil al-Hussein, Safir al-Hussein, Muslim ibn Aqil ibn Abi Talib. Wakil means I have leveled all my trust in this one. So much trust that I can sleep comfortably at night knowing that I'm in good hands. Why? Because my wakil is taking good care of everything. That's why he calls him إِنِّي قَدْ بَعَثْتُ لَكُمْ أَخِي وَابْنَ عَمِّي وَثِقَاتِي مِنْ أَهْلَ بَيْتِي. I sent to you and dispatched my brother, my cousin, and the most trustworthy of my family. That's why he's my wakil. With Allah, one of his names is Al-Wakil. You have to say, Allah, I trust you so much that I know I'm in good hands. And you know, when I came to New York, the plane had some turbulence. Normally, I didn't care for turbulence. I told my brother here, I don't care for turbulence. Right? It's just plain, right? The odds, the statistics. But lately, with all the news you hear about a thing flips and this and that, I'm like, Ya Allah, I don't know what to do here in this situation. In this case, like, just wait a minute. It's in Allah's hands. And you know what? What helps to know is I trust the pilot, right? And when you ride a bus, you're like, I hope the bus. No, you don't think of anything like that. You think, we're not going to be in any trouble because he wouldn't be driving or she wouldn't be driving the plane, the bus, whatever, if they weren't professional and competent and qualified. And you don't even ask about the pilot. Ya Hadhi. You don't even ask about the bus driver. Ya Ammi. You don't even ask about who's driving the bus, the train, the plane. Especially when you're in Iraq. When you go to Iraq, that's who you should be. You don't do any of that. You don't care to ask any. You're like, I know they're good. You don't care about the pilot and their qualifications. Then why do you get nervous when you say, I hope Allah can do this, I hope Allah can't? Trust Allah. Have so much yaqeen that you're in good hands. Allah, you're the pilot of my life. Ya Allah, you drive my life. And I know so long as it's in your hands, I'm in good hands. Imam Zainul Abideen teaches us all of these things, brothers and sisters. He shows an ummah that you guys have forgotten humanity. You guys have left what it means to be humans. You forgot, let me remind you, and that you forgot how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me remind you and share with you these reminders and gems and reflections such that Al-Imam Zainul Abideen, he himself personally would make an effort to go to random people. And you know, he goes to the one he sees, he's getting ready to slaughter the sheep. And he says to him, "Oh, servant of Allah, I just want to know, before you slaughter the sheep, did you give it water?" The man says, "Of course, Ibn Rasulillah. Everything that we prepare before we slaughter has to have some water." To which Al-Imam Zain al-Abideen, Salamullah alayh, faces Karbala and he says, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. How is it the case that even a sheep before it is slaughtered, Ya Habibi, Ya Hussein, could get water before it dies? And you died thirsty in the land of Karbala." Al-Imam Zain al-Abideen would then continue walking and he sees a daffan, according to the hadith. This daffan, all he does is bury people when those who die in the community. He digs the graves, he does the kafan. He asks him, "Oh, servants of Allah, let's say theoretically, if I were to die tomorrow, would you bury me?" He says, "Ya ibn Rasulullah, may Allah prolong your life. Bi abi anta wa ummi." Of course, it's my wajib. Don't ever say this, it breaks my heart. He says, "Just I want to know, would you give me a kafan?" He says, "Of course." "You wouldn't let me lay on the ground for 3 days?" He says, "Of course, how could that happen?" To which Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam says, "Then remember that my father Aba Abdullah lay on the ground for 3 days without a kafan or a burial." Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam, when he returned from the city of Kufa. He came to Karbala to finish burying his father and companions. This is not an easy burial, brothers and sisters. May Allah bless all of your fathers. Imam Zainul Abideen, before arriving Karbala, he sees the clan of Banu Asad. They were told by their wives, "You have no shame, at least bury the men who were killed." They didn't partake in the fight, so they went out to go bury. Imam Zain al-Abidin sees them and they see him. They said, "Hide, what if it's the men of Ibn Ziyad?" Until they hear him say, "Abba ya Hussein, Abba ya Hussein, amma layali famusahad, wa amma huzni fasarmad. حتى يختار الله لي دارك التي أنت بها مقيم." These are his words. He says, "Father, O Hussein, Father, O Hussein, as for my nights, they will be sleepless, and as for my grief, it will be everlasting until Allah unites me with you in the abode of Jannah." They said, "Awake and stand, O people of Banu Asad, this is Zainul Abideen. Let us help him with whatever he needs." Imam Zain al-Abidin inquires. They said, "We are here to bury the bodies." He says, "Why haven't you done so yet?" They said, "How we can't tell which limb belongs to who? We don't know which hand, which head. We can't tell." Imam Zain al-Abidin begins to instruct, "Take a long piece of cloth and collect them all together as such. These will be the shuhada that will be buried." He said, "Who do you have left?" They said, "There is a horse rider by the Furat. We can't lift him. From one side he falls and the other we can't." He goes to bury Abul Fadl al-Abbas. As he's going to his holy body 3 days after his Shahada, the people of Banu Asad say, "We see him pick up a left hand from the ground. He kisses it and places it over his head. It was the hand of Abul Fadl." As he continues, we see him pick up the right hand of Abul Fadl, and he begins to kiss it and place it over his head. He digs the grave next to Abul Fadl, and that's why today Abul Fadl al-Abbas is buried distance from Aba Abdullah as an honor for his own sacrifice and his own maqam. You know, I remember the hadith by the narration by one of our maraja, Ayatollah Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim. In the 1950s, he says, "I was honored to go down to the taboot of Abul Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. And I, with a couple people, we went and we know Abul Fadl is this tall, strong fighter. You know where we're going. But I saw his grave was like that for a child." I said, "Why?" They said, "Why?" I said, "I wonder how much they sliced him such that they just threw his pieces together." Until he's dead, Imam Zain al-Abidin decided to say that there is one body that lay on the ground, only I can bury it. It is the body of my father, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He digs the grave. As he digs it, he then lowers the body of Abu Abdullah. The hadith mentions that when he returned back from Sham with the head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he then digs the grave and he returns the blessed head of Abu Abdullah until he hears from the head say, "الطفل الطفل خلى على صدري." The baby, place him on my chest. Do you not know how it still hurts me, the arrow of Harmana on my baby? Imam Zain al-Abidin took up Abdullah al-Asghar and he lowered him on the chest of his father, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. العلي العظيم وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Brothers and sisters, with your hands raised in dua, with this majlis that was done, with the tears that are shedding, now your dua will be mustajab inshaAllah. Pray, Allahumma inna nas'aluka wa nad'uk باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم 10 times all together. Ya Allah, 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 Ya Allah. اللهم بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها فرج عنا. اللهم إنا نسألك اللهم اكشف هذه الغمة عن هذه الأمة. Oh Allah, brothers and sisters, it was requested to recite أما يجيب المضطر for those who have requested for their shifa. There are those who are suffering, especially our dear Rubina Sayyid, and for anyone you know that is dealing with any pain or struggle, or for your own well-being, or for those who have no one to remember them. Let us give these ayat 5 times with your permission, inshallah ta'ala. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء جميعا أمن إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب أمن يجيب ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. اللهم اكشف السوء والبلاء عنا يا الله. اللهم المرضى المنظورين شافي وعافهم يا الله. اللهم من كان له حاجة فاقضي حاجته يا الله. اللهم ارزقنا زيارة الحسين في الدنيا وشفاعته في الآخرة. اللهم عجل ثم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم لا تبعد بيننا وبين الحسين طرفة عين أبدا في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ارزقنا زيارة زين العابدين في جنة البقيع يا الله إلى أرواح العلماء والشهداء سيما من أوصانا بالدعاء. And for those who have requested to the ulama and the shuhada, and for those who have no one to remember them, نهدي لهم سورة المباركة الفاتحة. But before it, the loudest of your salawat. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مأتم الحسين يا حسين يا حسين. It's okay. Come. يا حسين.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. خيرة الله من الخلق أبي، خيرة الله من الخلق أبي، بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين، بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين. كفر القوم وقد ما رغبوا، كفر القوم وقد ما رغبوا عن ثواب الله رب الثقلين، عن ثواب الله رب الثقلين. حنقا منهم وقالوا إننا، حنقا منهم وقالوا إننا نتبع الأول قدم بالحسين، نتبع الأول قدم بالحسين. يا لناس يا لقوم من أناس قد بغوا، يا لقوم من أناس قد بغوا جمعوا الجمع لأهل الحرمين، جمع الجمع أهل الحرمين لا ليس كان مني سابقا لا ليس كان مني سابقا غير فخري بضياء فرق بين غير فخري بضياء فرق بين بعلي طهر من بعد النبي بعلي طهر من بعد النبي والنبي الهاشمي والوالدين والنبي الهاشمي والوالدين خيرة الله من الخلق أبي خيرة الله من الخلق أبي بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين والدي شمس وأمي قمر والدي شمس وأمي قمر فأنا الكوكب وابن القمرين فأنا الكوكب وابن القمرين فضة قد صفيت من ذهب فضة قد صفيت من ذهب فأنا الفضة وابن الذهبين فأنا الفضة وابن الذهبين ذهب من ذهب في ذهب ذهب من ذهب في ذهب ولجين في لجين في لجين ولجين في لجين في لجين خيرة الله من الخلق أبي خيرة الله من الخلق أبي بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين من له جد كجدي في الورى من له جد كجدي في الورى أو كشيخي فأنا ابن العلمين أو كشيخي فأنا ابن العلمين أمي الزهراء حقا وأبي أمي الزهراء حقا وأبي وارث العلم ومولى الثقل وارث العلم ومولى الثقل جدي المرسل مصطفى الدجى جدي المرسل مصطفى الدجى وأبي مفيله بالبيعتين وأبي مفيله بالبيعتين خصه الله بفضل وتقى خصه الله بفضل وتقى فأنا الزاهر وابن الزاهرين فأنا الزاهر وابن الزاهرين أيد الله بطهر طاهر أيد الله بطهر طاهر صاحب الأمر ببدر وحنين صاحب الأمر ببدر وحنين ذاك والله علي المرتضى ذاك والله علي المرتضى ساد بالفضل جميع الحرمين خيرة الله من الخلق أبي خيرة الله من الخلق أبي بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين ذاك والله علي المرتضى ذاك والله علي المرتضى ساد بالفضل جميع الحرمين عبد الله غلاما يافعا عبد الله غلاما يافعا وقريش يعبدون الوثنين وقريش يعبدون الوثنين يعبدون اللات والعزى معا يعبدون اللات والعزى معا وعلي قائم في القبلتين وعلي قائم في القبلتين مع رسول الله سبعا كاملا مع رسول الله سبعا كاملا ما على الأرض مصن غير بين ما على الأرض مصن غير بين خيرة الله من الخلق أبي خيرة الله من الخلق أبي بعد جدي فأنا ابن خيرتين بعد جدي فأنا ابن خيرتين صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Inshallah, we will be having a Q&A right after the ziyarat. So please stay back for the Q&A if you are interested in asking questions. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ziyara. السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباكر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي التقي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي النقي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا هجة بن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كامل الكفر والطغيان. السلام عليك يا دافع الظلم والعدوان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Inshallah, we will have our Q&A in 2 minutes approximately. We'll start. So those of you who are interested to ask questions, please stay back and we'll continue with the question and answers.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother? You want more hot? You want me to boil it? Like hot? No, I'm gonna drink that. It's just under very boiled. Okay. Because when it's chai hot. Okay, like that. That's it. So we've been we've been moderating it. Did they ask that question? They asked it. But they only asked if it was for I don't mind if they ask me that. What's your problem? Last time during the first issue, Sheikh Jaffer wanted me to say it. Well, the mic, and then we just pass it. Yeah. Yes, thank you. So, I can just sit next to you and tell you the question, and then you can just reiterate it with your answer. And you're saying no to open questions? Yeah, because one, people like to ask the question better. Anonymous. Ignore it happened. It's happened actually. He can't ignore. Someone has the nerve to be like, I'm gonna ask a dumb question. Wait, in the forum? Yeah. No, no, I'm talking about like in person. In person. Yeah. No, it's happened. Everyone was just the brothers.